At 8 o'clock in the morning, on April 22, 1884, one man left San Francisco on a quest that would ensure his place as a great adventurer. It was Thomas Stevens, the first person to circle the world on a bicycle. Born in England in 1854 as the eldest son of a working-class family, Stevens would emigrate to America in 1871. He ultimately made his way to San Francisco, where he learned to ride a high-wheel bicycle, one of the earliest types of bicycles. In the United States, this style of bicycle is still called a high-wheeler, whereas in the UK, they are known as penny farthing bicycles. Although the term is now virtually unknown, in Japanese they were called ordinary bicycles, or Daruma Jitenja. In Japanese the term Daruma refers to the Dharma wheel, which is a symbol of the teachings of Buddha and the concept of thinking of the world as a circle. The word Jitensha means bicycle in Japanese. Stevens rode on a black enameled Columbia 50-inch standard model high-wheeler with nickel-plated wheels, and headed east on wagon roads toward Sacramento. He then crossed the Sierra Nevada mountains to Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, and Chicago. After 103 days, he finally reached Boston on the east coast of the United States. This was the first transcontinental bicycle ride, a distance of some 5,955 kilometers or 3,700 miles. It would be the first of many firsts attained by Stevens. For the next leg of the journey, Stevens took a steamship to Liverpool, England. He cycled across the English countryside near his birthplace, and subsequently took a ferry to France. From there, Stevens continued his journey through Germany, Austria, Hungary, Serbia, Bulgaria, and finally arrived in Constantinople, which is modern-day Istanbul, on the eastern edge of Europe. Stevens continued on through Anatolia, Armenia, Kurdistan, Iraq, and Iran before returning to Constantinople. From there, Stevens took another steamship to India and biked along the Grand Trunk Road through Delhi to reach Calcutta. He subsequently boarded another steamship bound for Hong Kong, which is where he began his journey across China. Stevens traveled north along China's east coast to reach Shanghai. Along the way he faced many hardships, including having to navigate through a riot. Stevens ultimately reached the port city of Shanghai, where he boarded another steamship heading to Japan. This packet boat took him to Nagasaki, a port city on the west coast of Japan's southern main island of Kyushu. It was now more than 2.5 years since Stevens left home in San Francisco. He had just one more land-based segment. It was now November 1886. Stevens set out for Yokohama, which was halfway across the country. According to his diary entries, Stevens immediately fell in love with Japan. Exactly 100 years later, two first-year American university students would meet at Bates College in Lewiston, Maine, and develop a friendship as former roommates that would endure to this day. Despite living and working on opposite sides of the world since their graduation in 1990, the two have remained close friends. They have maintained a mutual interest in outdoor sports, particularly cycling. This friendship led to the development of Project Dharma, in which the two college roommates will recreate the last leg of Stevens' epic journey. They will travel by bicycle more than 1,500 kilometers from Nagasaki to Yokohama. The two plan to begin this journey during the last week of September 2023. Eric Knight, a past commander of the Wheelmen, which is a US-based organization dedicated to the heritage of American cycling, will be traveling to Japan from his home near Philadelphia. Knight plans to ride the entire route on his 54-inch Victory high-wheeler. In order to be street legal, Knight has fitted his high-wheeler with modern brakes, reflectors, and a bell for safety. Throughout the entire ride in Japan, Knight will also be wearing a bicycle helmet. Knight will be joined by his old roommate, Mark Kennedy, who has lived and worked in Japan for 3 decades. Kennedy will play a supporting role as a combination luggage carrier and interpreter. He will ride an electric-assisted bicycle. The two riders want to foster collaboration with Japanese cycling enthusiasts, to highlight Stevens' original journey, and to have fun exploring the Japanese countryside. Now let's take a closer look at the planned route. Knight and Kennedy will begin their journey in the same place where Stevens started, from a dock in the harbor of Nagasaki. They will follow the historic Nagasaki-Kaido Highway across Kyushu from Nagasaki to Moji. This 228-kilometer route used to be called the Sugar Road, as sugar was a major commodity transported along this path from the Edo period. In Saga, the riders will meet with a former Japanese foreign exchange student with whom they studied more than 30 years ago. Knight and Kennedy will vary the distance they cover each day, depending on the local terrain, the weather, and their stamina. The route leads northeast to the Tokiwabashi Bridge in Kita, Kyushu City. It marks the end of the Nagasaki-Kaido Highway. They will cross the narrow Kanmon Straits, which is a choke point in between the main Japanese islands of Kyushu and Honshu. Knight and Kennedy will continue along the northern coast of the Inland Sea, across Yamaguchi Prefecture toward Hiroshima. The pair will stop to visit the historic island of Miyajima and the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park. From Onomichi, Knight and Kennedy will take a slight detour to explore the Shimanami-Kaido Highway cycle route. Heading further east, along the path of the old Sanyodo Highway, the cyclists will plan to visit the Beacon Historical District of Kurashiki. The next milestone will be Himeji Castle, which was built in the early 17th century. At the eastern end of the Inland Sea, Knight and Kennedy will stop at the Shimano Bicycle Museum in Osaka. Next, the cyclists will move north to the ancient capital of Kyoto, which is the beginning of the Tokaido Highway that leads to Tokyo. Following the Tokaido Highway, Knight and Kennedy will pass Nagoya Castle. They will keep heading east, along the coast of the Pacific Ocean. Knight and Kennedy plan to hike near Mount Fuji. The pair will visit the famous hot spring resort town of Hakone. Knight and Kennedy will keep riding east, toward Yokohama, along the Shonan coast. At the end of October, the cyclists will finally arrive at the Osanbashi Pier in Yokohama. This is probably near where Stevens boarded a steamship home to San Francisco. Knight and Kennedy will conclude their long journey at the Bicycle Culture Center in central Tokyo. Stay up to date with the progress of the cyclists on this YouTube channel, the Country Roads Japan website, Instagram, or Facebook. You can also examine the route in detail via the link from Komoot.